Hello, welcome to Grafana LGTM Stack course. My name is Mohammad and I'm very happy to be here. This is the last section related to Grafana LogQL and I'm gonna talk about LogQL, setting up dashboards, setting up alerts and notifications, okay? So first of all, let's start with LogQL, a dedicated query language. First of all, I'm gonna explain that I have two possible applications within my Nginx namespace to show you their logs in this scenario. So if I type kubectl get pod-nginx, I have two pods within Nginx namespace as well as two different services. And it means that I have two possible applications, for example, for this scenario. And I'm gonna show you their logs using LogQL, okay? So this is the web page related to the first application, deployment 1, and the web page related to the second application, deployment 2. So let's imagine that we have two separated applications, and I'm gonna show you their logs only, okay? So within your Grafana instance, you can select Explore from here, and when you select Explore, you have two possible choices for running your queries, Builder here and Code. The default choice is Builder. And if you select Builder, you can select your data source from here as well. The only data source that we have now is LogQL, so I select LogQL. And then we have two options here. The first option is the keys, the available keys for my log lines, for example, method, namespace, pod, a status code, service name, and so on. And the second option is about the values. For example, if I select namespace, its values can be Grafana or Nginx. So if I select, for example, service name, its possible values can be, for example, Nginx 1 and Nginx 2. Okay, so the key and its possible values. But I always prefer to use code instead of builder. If you want to use code, you have to know about, for example, LogQL, PromQL, and any other query language. I'm talking about LogQL, I'm talking about logs, so its dedicated query language is LogQL. So you need to know about LogQL if you want to use code instead of builder. Okay, so let's start with LogQL, and you will find out how to use it. Okay. For example, for the first example, I'm going to extract those log lines which include the service name of Nginx 1. As you know, in Nginx namespace, we have two different services, Nginx 1 and Nginx 2. I'm going to extract all log lines related to Nginx 1 as a service name. Because of that, I type a curly bracket, and inside this curly bracket, I type the key as well as its value. For example, service name and its value can be Nginx 1 or Nginx 2. I select Nginx 1, for example. And if I click on run query, it returns all log lines related to Nginx 1 as a service name. Service name equals to Nginx 1. Nginx 1. Okay? You don't see any logs related to Nginx 2 because the query is about Nginx 1. So if I change it from Nginx 1 to Nginx 2, it returns all log lines related to Nginx 2. Okay? Another thing that is so important that you are not limited to just use a single key value per here. As you can see here in the first example, I'm using a single key value per service name as a key, Nginx 2 as a value. But you are not limited to just use a single key value pair. You can use multiple key value pairs if you want. For example, I'm going to extract those log lines, which includes service name equals to Nginx 1, and also status code must be 404, for example. Because of that, this is the first key value pair, and the second key value pair must be status code equals to 404. So if I click on run query, it returns all log lines which include, first of all, service name equals to Nginx1, and status code must be 404. Okay, because I'm using two different key value pairs within a single query. So you are not limited to just use a single key value pair. Okay. And another thing that is so important that this is a symbol. Okay. This symbol is about equals to. For example, service name equals to Nginx1. Status code equals to 404. Okay. But you are not limited to just use equals to. You can use not equal instead of equals to, or even regex. So you can use equals to, or not equal, or regex. Okay? For example, I'm gonna extract those log lines which include a status code of 4 dot star as a regex. Because of that, I change this symbol to regex, and I can type 4 dot star. So if I click on run query, it returns all log lines of status code of 4 dot star. For example, for a 4, for a 3, or anything else that must match with 4 dot star. Okay. And another thing that is so important, that you can also search for a specific text within your log line. Okay. For example, let's imagine that, for example, for my first application, I type /something error. Okay, it returned 404 not found, but I searched for something error, and something error as a path is not available for my application, and is not valid. Because of that, it returns an error for my application. But I'm gonna search for those log lines which include status code of 404, and also it must include a specific text such as something error. So if you want to search for a specific text within your log lines, you can use a pipe, something like that, as well as a symbol. And this symbol can be equals to, not equal, and regex. For example, something like that, or equals to, or not equal. In this example, I'm going to use equals to, something like this, and I'm going to search for a specific text such as something error. And the status code must be matched with this value 4 dot star, because I'm using regex instead of equals to, and also it must include this specific text. So if I click on run query, it returns all log lines which include status code of 404 or 403 or 4 dot star overall, and it must include specific text such as something error, like this. It highlights these text from here. Okay. So I talked about LogQL, and we saw different examples for LogQL. If you want to know more about LogQL, you can search for LogQL within Lookie's official documentation, and you will see a lot of examples with this dedicated query language. Okay. Another thing that is so important is converting logs into metrics. For example, we have a question that the question is that how many times I received error in the last 5 minutes, for example. So in this scenario, I'm talking about a metric, a number, a digit. Okay. So I need to change the content of logs into metrics to answer to this question, that how many times I received an error within my applications. Okay. Because of that, first of all, I remove this query and I type count over time. Count over time helps you to convert your logs into metrics. and it accepts two different arguments. The first argument can be your query, and the second argument is a time range. For example, the query can be namespace equals to nginx, and for example, status code equals to 44. Okay, this is my query. And the last argument is a time range. So in this example, I'm gonna extract the number of errors within nginx namespace in the last 5 minutes. Okay? But if you probably know, I have two services within nginx namespaces. And for the first scenario, I'm gonna evaluate the total number of errors within nginx namespace. It doesn't matter, it has to be nginx 1 or nginx 2. I'm going to evaluate the total number of errors within nginx namespace. Because of that, I can type sum before count over time. So this query will return all errors of nginx namespace within last 5 minutes. And these errors can be for application 1 or application 2. So if I click on run query, as you can see here in this example, I'm not seeing any logs. I'm seeing metrics. And the metrics is now is, for example, 2. I have 2 errors within last 5 minutes for my application. Or no data, it means that I have no errors within the last 5 minutes. So if I refresh this page multiple times to receive multiple errors for my application, and if I click on run query, yeah, I have 4 errors within last 5 minutes for application 1 and also for application 2 because I'm using sum. So I can type something error. Okay, I refresh this page multiple times. And this number has been increased to 7. It means that I have received 7 errors within the last 5 minutes for nginx namespace. And it's evaluating the total number of errors for application 2 and application 1 as well. The second scenario is that you want to say that, hey, I want to see the metrics, I want to see the errors of each application separated. Okay? For example, I'm going to see the errors of application 1 separated than application 2. So I'm using the concept of grouping within my query. So to make groups, I can type by as well as a valid key. I'm going to separate the result of my query based on service names. So I type service name. And if I click on run query, we have 2 metrics now. Service name equals to nginx 1 and service name equals to nginx 2. So now in the last 5 minutes, I have 4 errors for nginx 1 and 3 errors for nginx 2. So I'm separating the result of my query based on service names. So it helps you to make groups for your query. Okay? So now I'm going to create a dashboard. So to do that, please click on dashboards from here and click on create dashboard. And we have different ways to create a dashboard. The first way is importing a dashboard. It means that you can search on internet and find your dashboard, and you can download the JSON file of the dashboard and upload the JSON file here, and your dashboard will be uploaded within your Grafana's instance. Or you can also copy the URL or the ID of the dashboard here and paste it here, and the dashboard will be uploaded here, and everything will be ready to use. But I prefer to use and to create our own dashboard, to create our own variables, to create our own queries and something like that. Okay? Because of that, I click on Add Visualization. You can also select your data source. We now just have a single data source, and it's Loki. Because of that, I click on Loki. And here I can run my query. But before that, I'm going to say that the first panel of this dashboard, the result of the first query that I'm going to run is the content of logs, not just about metrics or numbers. I'm going to show you the content of logs of Nginx 1 and Nginx 2, two different applications, just seeing the content of those logs. Because of that, we need to change the visualization. Okay? The default visualization here is time series, and time series needs a data such as a metric, a number, or something like that. But the result of my query will be logs. Therefore, I need to change the visualization to logs. This is the first step. Okay, so let's create our query. I type, for example, namespace equals to Nginx, and it returns all logs related to Nginx namespace, and I type service name equals to $service name. Please pay attention here that I'm using a variable instead of a specific value, and the variable name is service underline name. But this variable is not exist yet, but I'm going to create this variable. Okay? So first of all, I save this dashboard, and after that, I go to dashboard settings, variables, add variable. The variable type will be custom, and its name will be, for example, service name. And its possible values are Nginx 1 and Nginx 2. I click on apply, save dashboard. Very good. Let's go back to our dashboard here, and yeah. And these are all log lines related to Nginx 1. If I click on one of these lines, you will see that the service name is Nginx 1. If I change it to Nginx 2, the service name will be changed to Nginx 2, and these are the log lines related to Nginx 2. So instead of using a specific value such as Nginx 1 or Nginx 2 here, I'm using a variable. It's very, very flexible. Okay? You can also set a name for your panel, for example, logs. You can set a description if you want. For example, I can type, these are the logs of applications inside Nginx namespace. Okay? This is the description of this panel. And also, I can add links to this panel. For example, I can add the links of my two different applications within Nginx namespace to this panel. So I click on Add Link. I type application 1, open a new tab, and this URL will be the URL of my first application. And the second application is application 2, and its URL is this. Okay? I click on Save and Apply. You can see that a description has been appeared here. These are the logs of applications inside Nginx namespace, and this panel has two possible links, application 1 and application 2. If I click on application 1, it redirects me to the web page of deployment 1, application 1. And if I click on application 2, it redirects me to application 2. Okay? So we created a panel that the result of this panel is about the content of logs. So now I'm going to create another panel which returns a number. For example, I'm going to create a panel which returns the number of errors for each application within Nginx namespace. Because of that, I click on Add, Visualization, and here, instead of time series as a visualization solution, I prefer to use Gauge. Okay? So here, as I said earlier, we need to convert the logs inside metrics. And to convert logs inside metrics, I can use count over time. Count over time. The first argument will be our query, and our query is namespace equals Nginx. Service name is $. Service name is a variable. And the most important thing here is status code of 4.star because I'm using regex here. And the time range here is $_auto. It means that I'm not going to specify time range here, and it will be set based on the time range you use here. For example, if I click on last 5 minutes, it will be used here as well. Because of that, I prefer to use $_auto. Okay? And it depends on what you choose here. For example, if I click last 15 minutes, it will be set to 15 minutes as well. Very good. You can also set a title here if you want, set a description, add links if you want. And for the calculation, instead of last, I use total. Okay? And also you can set the standard options, for example, unit, min, max if you want. And you can also set threshold here if you want. So if I refresh this page, for example, in the last 15 minutes, I received 3 errors for Nginx 2. So so I click on save the dashboard, and I apply it. Very good. So in the last 5 minutes, for example, I have no data here. Please create many different data. Please create many different logs. So I go to the first application. I refresh the web page of my first application here. And let's go back to our dashboard. And if I refresh this page, you will see that these are log lines related to application 1, Nginx 1. But in the last 5 minutes, I have no errors for Nginx 1. If you want to create errors for your application 1, you can, for example, type wrong or error, something like that. I refresh this page. And if I click on refresh dashboard, you will see that we have 3 different errors within last 5 minutes for Nginx 1. If I change service name from Nginx 1 to Nginx 2, we have no data for Nginx 2 within the last 5 minutes. So let's go to application 2. I refresh this page to create different entries for application 2. I refresh the dashboard here, and we have 2 logs for application 2, but we have no errors. If you want to create errors, go back here and type, for example, wrong. And if I refresh this page, we have 2 errors for application 2 within last 5 minutes. And Nginx 1 is 3. Nginx 2 is 2. Okay? So we created a dashboard, we created a variable, and also we created 2 different panels. The result of the first panel is the content of our logs. And in the second panel, we converted the logs into metrics. Because of that, the result of the second panel is metrics. And we know how many times I received errors for each application separately. Very good. So now it's time to work with alerting and notifications within Grafana, okay? But before working with them, I prefer to explain the concepts and the words that we have here. Alert rules, contact points, and notification policies. What is alert rule? Alert rule is a condition actually, and it can define the condition that must be met before an alert rule fires. For example, it can define for Grafana that, hey, whenever you see that the number of errors for my application within the last 5 minutes is more than 5 errors or more than 5 errors, for example, please fire this alert rule. So that alert rule can be fired based on a specific condition you define. Okay, this is so important. The next word here is contact point. Contact point will be the destination of your alerting messages. Okay, and this destination can be, for example, email, Telegram, Slack, Mattermost, webhook endpoint, and so on. And the most important thing here is that you are not limited to just use a single contact point. You can create multiple contact points if you want. And the next word here is notification policies. You can define a routing policy, and it's very helpful when you have multiple contact points. For example, you say that, hey, I want this specific alert rule should be sent to a specific contact point. So you are defining a routing policy. And notification policies help you to do that, okay? So first of all, let's start with contact point. So I click on contact point here, and I click on add contact point. In this scenario, I have prepared Mattermost as our communication tool. It's so similar to Slack. So I click on my Mattermost instance, as you can see here, I have many different channels, and I'm going to use the channel of LGTM alerting here, okay? And this channel will receive the alerting notifications from Grafana. And, okay. So its name will be, for example, Mattermost, and the integration will be Slack. Unfortunately, Grafana has not an option for Mattermost. So if you're using Mattermost, you can select Slack as the integration because it's so similar to Slack. So it works without any problem. Okay. So if you're using Slack itself or Mattermost, you can use Slack as the integration here. Okay. But what is webhook URL? You can define and you can create a webhook within your Mattermost instance. Go to integrations, incoming webhook, and here I defined and I created a webhook earlier, and I want to use this webhook. And using this webhook, Grafana will send our alerting messages to LGTM alerting channel within our Mattermost instance. So I copy this URL and paste it here. Grafana has an amazing feature called test, and it helps you to verify your configuration and your integration. Okay, so I click on it, send test notification, and test sent alert, test alert sent. So let's go back to Mattermost and LGTM alerting channel, and yeah, as you can see here, Grafana Grafana alerting message has been sent to this channel, test alert Grafana. And it seems that everything is working well, and Mattermost has been integrated to Grafana as the contact point. Okay, so very good. So I save contact point, and as you can see here, the new contact point has been added here. The next important thing here is notification templates, and you can add and create a new notification template here. Notification template helps you a lot to customize your notification, to customize your alerting message. Later on, we will see that each alert rule will have labels, description, annotations, summary, and so on. And this information will be sent as part of the message to your contact point, for example, Mattermost. Okay, so using notification template, it helps you to customize your message. For example, you say that, hey, I want the labels of my alert should be set at the top of the message, and then description, then annotation, then summary, and so on. Okay, so you can define the form and the template of your message, and you will find many different examples within Grafana official documentation if you want. So I go to my browser and I type Grafana alerting template or template here. I click on the first result here, and you will see some different examples. For example, the template message for email or the template message for Slack here. Yeah, as you can see here, this is a template example for Slack. If you're using Slack or Mattermost, because Mattermost is so similar to Slack, you can grab and you can copy the template related to Slack here. I copy this template from here, and let's go to Grafana. I click on Add Notification Template, and this is our notification template, for example. And as you can see here, labels, annotations, silence, go to dashboard, and these are the information that has been returned from our alert role. Okay, so I save our template. Okay, the name will be, for example, Mattermost-template, or no, Slack. Okay, Slack will be our template name. I save template. Very good. So when I go back to notification templates, a new notification template has been added here, and its name is Slack. But I want to use this notification template within my new contact point. So to do that, I click on Edit, and I click on Optional Slack Settings, and the text body here. If I go back to this documentation here, it seems that if you want to execute that template, you will need to use this command. So I copy it and paste it here as the text body. Slack.message. Slack will be the name of your template. So this is the name of your template. Okay? So when you create your template, you have to call it within your contact point. So I save contact point and okay. The next thing that you should be familiar here is notification policies. In this scenario, I'm using a single contact point. And if I click on edit for default policy, you can define that the default contact point will be, for example, Mattermost that we created earlier. It means that all alerts, all newly created alerts will be sent to Mattermost as our contact point here. But if you have multiple contact points, you can create many different policies here based on alert rule labels, and your specific alert will be sent to a specific contact point if you want. But here, the default policy is that all alert instances will be sent to Mattermost that we created earlier. Okay? So now it's time to create our new role. So to do that, I click on Alert Role and then New Alert Role. In this scenario, I'm going to define for Grafana that, hey, whenever you see that the number of errors of applications within Nginx namespace is 5 errors or more than 5 errors within last 1 minute, please fire this alert rule. So to do that, please, let's give it a name. Its name will be, for example, Nginx. And the data source is Loki, very good. And the query. As I said earlier, if you want to convert logs into metrics, you have to use something like count over time. But as I said, I'm going to evaluate the total number of errors for all applications inside Nginx namespace. Because of that, I need to use sum before count over time. Okay? The time range here in this example will be 1 minute, and the query is namespace equals to Nginx, and status code will be 4.star. Okay? So if I click on run queries, we have no data. It means that we have no errors within last 1 minute. So to create new errors for our applications, we need to refresh this page multiple times. This is the web page related to our first application, and it's using a wrong path. Because of that, it returns 44 not found. So I refresh the web page related to the first application as well as the second application to create new errors. And then I go back here and I click on run queries once again. You will see that I have 5 new errors. Okay? Very good. So to create a condition, I can use the symbol of greater than, for example, 5. So here, Grafana will check this query, and whenever it sees that the number of errors for all applications inside Nginx namespace within last 1 minute is more than 5 errors, this alert rule will be fired by Grafana. Okay, very good. Let's scroll down. We don't need expressions, so I remove it from here. And the folder, for example, will be errors. An evaluation group is errors as well. An evaluation interval, for example, 1 minute. How often is the rule evaluated? 1 minute is ideal for this scenario. Click on create. And pending period in which an alert rule can be in breach of the condition until the alert rule fires. For example, I set it to 1 minute. And then let's scroll down here and let's create new labels for our alert rule. As I said earlier, we can set a set of labels for our alert rule. For example, the first label will be app equals to Nginx, as well as severity equals to warning. Very good. The contact point for this alert rule will be Mattermost that we created earlier. Very good. And summary annotations here. Annotations include summary and description. Summary is short summary of what happened and why. For example, I can type the number of errors of Nginx applications is more than 5 errors within last 1 minute. Okay? And description of what the alert rule does. For example, it evaluates the total number of errors of Nginx applications within last 1 minute. Very good. I can click on save rule and exit. And this rule has been created. And the summary is the number of errors of Nginx applications is more than 5 errors within last 1 minute. But the health is okay and its state is normal. It seems that we have no errors within last 1 minute. So to create new errors, to change the state of the rule from normal to firing, we need to create new errors for our applications here. So I refresh these pages multiple times to create new errors. Very good. So I'm going to wait for this alert rule to change its state from normal to pending and then firing. Okay, so I pause the video. Okay, now you can see that the state of our alert rule has been changed to pending. And this state will be stayed for 1 minute because I set the pending time for 1 minute. And after that, the state will be changed to firing. Okay, so I refresh these pages multiple times to create new errors once again. And I'm going to wait for this state to be fired. Okay, as you can see here, the state has been changed to firing, and it seems that we have new errors for all applications inside Nginx namespace. So let's go to our Mattermost channel to see the new message. And as you can see here, in LGTM alerting channel, we have new message, Nginx errors, and these are the labels for this alert rule, such as alert name, app Nginx, severity warning, and Grafana folder that we created earlier. And the annotations are description and the summary. Description, it evaluates the total number of errors of Nginx applications within last 1 minute, and the summary here as well. So it seems that it's working well, and the contact point is working well. It has been integrated with Mattermost. So I'm going to wait for this alert rule to change its state from firing to normal, because the contact point will be sent an alerting message with a resolved status here, and it shows that the problem has been solved. Okay, so I'm going to wait for this state to be normal. Okay, so I pause the video. Okay, the state of our alert rule has been changed to normal, and it seems that it's working well, and we have no errors for our applications. So let's go back to our Mattermost channel, and yeah, we have a new message, but in this time, instead of firing status, we have resolved status here, and we have a green line here. It seems that the work has been resolved. So very good. In this section, we learned how to work with alert rules, contact points, notification templates, notification policies, and also creating dashboards, working with LogQL, and so on. It was very, very useful, I think. And in the next section, I'm going to start working with Grafana Mimir. Very good. I hope you like it, and I see you soon.